let's get into our final topic. And, we talked a little bit last week about this. The season 17 queens threw a little shade in Lexi Love's direction by referring to her as grandma or auntie. And she's only 33 years old, but they were calling her elderly. Is because she's the oldest queen on the show? Like, I just didn't understand the point of why they were trying to come for her. But yeah, so it has opened up the age-old question, since we're talking about age. Does Drag Race have an age problem? So now, in the most recent episode of Drag Race Season 17, this year's new crop of queens began playfully referring to the cast's oldest member, Louisville's Lexi Love, as a grandma during filming. Now, as I dabbed away the tears from my wrinkled and sagging, almost 30-year-old child, okay, this is somebody from Pink News, by the way. I am not 30. I'm like 10 plus years older than that. So now they said, is it me? Am I the grandma? I don't think I'm the grandma. Maybe I am. So now, in all seriousness, the Drag Race girls aren't serious. As one Gemma Collins might say, it was a bit of a laugh. It's tongue in cheek. Danielle, it's funny. That might be true, but it does open the door to a bigger, suppler, more collagen-rich question. Does Drag Race have an age problem? Now, the most obvious evidence points to no. Of course not. Don't be silly. It's a TV empire currently being helmed and hosted by RuPaul, a drag queen who will be 65 years old this year. Now, across its 17 U.S. seasons and innumerable international franchises, there have been a number of older queens, say 40 plus, who have made it far in the competition. Just 2 months ago, Drag Race UK Season 6 became one of the fandom's most loved, thanks largely to County Durham's Lavoie, who at 44 years old won 4 challenges and made it to the final 2, which I was hoping that she was going to win. Unfortunately, she didn't win. They gave it to Kyron Thrax, who is 27 years old, by the way. So I was looking at this like, no, she should have been the winner of that show, but y'all decided to give it to Kyron. I wonder why they did that. I don't understand why RuPaul did that, because I felt like Lavoie is somebody who is a seasoned queen, who excelled at all the challenges, who showed that she had a good head on her shoulders, excuse me, and can definitely propel the UK drag scene beyond Drag Race UK. So they said, in fact, all 73 winners throughout the Drag Race universe is fairly pitiful to own that only 5 of them, less than 7%, bagged their crown while they were age 40 or above. So yeah, we have Chad Michaels, Alyssa Edwards, Jimbo, Vanessa Van Cartier, and Drag Race España star Sharon. Y'all also forgot, didn't you forget Bianca Del Rio? Or was Bianca Del Rio 39 when she won? So that's probably why she wasn't included. Now, of course, in order for older Drag Race competitors to win, they have to be cast on the show first. Now, on average, the new season has the show's youngest ever cast, with the average age of 26.3 years. Season 14 had the second youngest, Lady Camden and Deja Sky. The oldest queens were just 31. Across all 17 seasons of the original franchise, which has welcomed 224 queens, only 8 were 40 or older at the time of filming. Now, when seasons do cast older queens, their inclusion also then becomes something to be mocked, and not in the Lexi Love is a grandma way. Now, on season 7, Tempest du Jour was at the time the oldest queen to ever compete at 47. After entering the workroom, fellow queen Candy Ho, then 27, immediately asked her, "So how old are you?" before suggesting that she tries to be funny with her old-fashioned drag, though Tempest put it best, retorting, "You don't stop dreaming at a certain age." RuPaul certainly decided she should. Tempest was sent home first. Because who knows, maybe Tempest wasn't given what needed to be given in regards of like the show, whatever. I don't understand why she went home. But yeah, Tempest du Jour wasn't really fitting within the whole Drag Race narrative. Now, I've heard of Tempest du Jour, and there were a bunch of queens and stuff that was on there that were Drag Race icons in their own right. Well, drag icons in their own right outside of Drag Race. And when they came on, they weren't, I guess, like I said, there are people who are good at Drag Race, and there are people who are good at drag. And a lot of times when people try to transfer over into doing the Drag Race thing, they don't necessarily understand the challenges or how to play the game and that sort of thing. So now, 2 years later, season 9 welcomed Charlie Hides, who at the age of 52 became the show's oldest ever contestant and pushed the average of season 9 contestants to 30.3 years old, the oldest still. She managed to survive a cheerleading challenge, which included shoulder stands and splits, but was eliminated in 12th place after opting to stand still during a Britney Spears lip sync, which I still gag over. I'm like, girl, what was that? And Trinity the Tuck, who she was going up against, threw herself about the stage. She was giving a performance. Another queen, Aja, described Charlie as looking like she was telling children to get off her lawn. Now, Dita Garbo, then 48, was the second eliminated for Drag Race UK season 6. Tamisha Iman, then 46, was third out of the Drag Race US season 13. Ginger Bitch, then 44, was fourth out on Drag Race France season 2. It's a fairly inarguable trend. Some may question whether some Drag Race challenges lend themselves to an average older contestant, even if the term older here still often means someone in their 40s. I don't even know why people think, is 40 old? Like, child, as somebody who's in their 40s, I don't feel old. So I don't like this overall attitude where y'all run out here trying to make it seem like, yeah, if you're 40 years old, that you're like a grandma and you got rickety bones and things. Now, on the recent episode of Canada's Drag Race, one of the more interesting contestants, trans star and fan favorite Jaylene Time, who's 52, surprisingly exited in 8th place after a comparatively low-energy performance in this season's Girl Group Challenge. Canada's previous season saw Kitten Caboodle, who's 57, sent home during the kicking and splitting lip-sync slay-off. Both queens were awarded the title of Miss Congeniality, leaving the distinct air of, oh, you tried. But here's the thing. This is another thing I think that pisses me off about Drag Race. I think maybe a lot of it has to do with the producers and everybody playing into that ageist aspect. Yeah, RuPaul is 60 something years old, but RuPaul, all she got to do is stand there like a stiff corpse when she's sitting behind that damn desk critiquing the queens. She don't have to move much when she's doing stuff. So for y'all to sit up here and thinking that everybody of a certain age has to do pop, dip, and spins, split kicks, and jump splits and all that stuff, I don't know where in the manual it says that every queen has to do that on the show. And then it goes to show like, okay, so now if nobody is genuinely themselves in regards of the type of performance and stuff that they do on this show. Y'all all trying to be like Aja or Anitra or this queen or that queen instead of being your genuine self. Why can't you just be yourself trying to be up there or just not trying to be like what everybody else is doing? So then they went on to say it's unlikely that the Drag Race casting teams actively sideline older queens, rather than there's a truckload more younger queens shooting off their applications. So queens of a certain age may forego applying, though through fear of getting the Tempest of Charlie treatment. They may have done drag for years before a reality show was made about it, and simply aren't interested in having their decades-long career judged by teens on the internet based solely on whether they can high kick to Doja Cat. So now it's probable too that the pool of older queens is just smaller now in general, with the AIDS pandemic in the 80s and 90s tearing through the queer community and painting queer people in an association their art forms as dangerous or dirty. Young queer people then hardly had the platform or opportunity to dabble in drag that Gen Z have today. All that's needed now is a wig and a TikTok account. That's true because now we've embedded ourselves in social media queens as being what the new generation of drag and art is. So when you get a lot of these elder queens, the ones who are from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s, before Drag Race became a thing, even though Drag Race technically came out, like 2008, 2009. So back then they needed whoever they could get that was a drag queen to come on the show, but now it's kind of shifted into this place where it's like, yeah, it's social media queens, it's people who are voted on through Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and that sort of thing. And so that was the thing we had, and now it's like all these young people on the show. To have somebody on that's 33, that's considered ancient. I mean, I would love to see older queens come on the show, like a seasoned queen, somebody who's been doing it for 25, 30 years. But like they said, it could be a little bit of truth in the fact of like, maybe they don't want to do it because they don't want to be judged by a bunch of damn know-it-alls who think they know about drag but have never slipped into a gourmand, beat their face for the guards, put on a fabulous shake and go wig, and got up on stage and lip sync to Ariana Grande. Or, depending on your choice, Liza Minnelli with a Z. I don't know. Maybe some people feel like, but it's like, I don't need y'all up on social media trying to judge what you think my drag should be. When drag, like art, is subjective. So, with all these young drag babies growing up, I mean, born every day, and the fact that we have so many young people who at this point have been raised, like, I grew up watching Drag Race. I'm like, chill. That's like me sitting up here saying, oh, yeah, I grew up watching like this show or that show. It's like, yeah, we're at that point now where like Drag Race has been around long enough that people can say that I grew up watching this show. Because I remember I was in college when the first season of Drag Race came out, and I didn't have Logo, so I watched it on my on the computer at school. I'm supposed to be working on my film projects, and I'm sitting there watching Drag Race and Untucked. But you had to go on the website and watch it. So they're basically saying, like, look, as for the show itself, it's impossible to dispute that older representation is lacking. Giving young queer people a platform to come into themselves is great, but we love to see a season of Drag Race with 3 or 4 queens who have been in the game for 2, maybe 3 decades. Ironically, there should be no fresher shake up to the formula. So I do feel like they need to mix it up. It shouldn't just be like, okay, the median age for an elder is in their mid 30s. We do need to kind of, I think maybe some of you queens out there who are in your 40s and your 50s, shake it up. Get on the show. Send in your application. I would love to see a lot of y'all go up against these young queens. And because we keep hearing like this ageist stuff that comes out, but maybe some of you veterans need to show a lot of these young people how it's done. But we can get more Lavoie types on the show and less Tempest du Jours or Charlie Hides. Like, we need less of those and more Lavoies. People who are seasoned, who got a good head on their shoulders, who can handle any challenge thrown at them, and is a veteran in the game that knows how to do drag as well as good TV. So you got to be able to find somebody who, in a way, could be a Jill of all trades. And so that's what we need. And Drag Race, you people that vote or you choose who could be on the seasons, you need to be a little more open to that instead of purposely picking people because it makes a good narrative for your reality show. Just so that way y'all can have something to talk about dramatically. So I say all this to say, what do y'all think of this story? Do you think that RuPaul's Drag Race has an age problem? And would you like to see a mixture of like older and younger queens partaking on the show? I feel like it should be open for a lot of people. If you have the talent, if you have the wherewithal to get up in there and stand toe to toe with a lot of these other queens, then I feel like we need the veterans, because if it wasn't for these veteran drag queens, a lot of you newbies coming up wouldn't have shoulders to stand on. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.